My name is Emily Miller. I have a husband and an adult son named Ryan. That son also left home a few years ago. Currently, my husband and I live in a spacious house. After my son left, the first few months felt lonely, but now I'm used to it. Still, I'd be happy to hear from my son saying he's coming home. On the day my son was coming back, both my husband and I were nervous from the morning. This was because my son had said he wanted us both to be home because there was someone he wanted to introduce. Before noon, my son came back with a lovely woman. I had expected it from my son's words, but I never thought he would actually bring a woman. Seeing us surprised, my son looked proud and introduced her to us.
Her name is Ashley. Cute, isn't she? She's my proud wife.
I couldn't understand my son's words immediately. After mulling it over a few times, I asked again, Ryan, did you just refer to Ashley not as your girlfriend, but as your wife? Ryan nodded in agreement.
I told you. Maybe you're getting hard of hearing, Mom.
I couldn't laugh back at my son, who chuckled as if he was teasing me. I haven't heard anything about you getting married. Did you know about this? When I asked my husband, he also shook his head in response.
Nope, I hadn't heard either.
Both my husband and I asked Ryan, what's going on? Then, for some reason, Ryan explained proudly.
That's why I came today to report our marriage. By the way, we had the wedding in Guam, invited friends and made it grand.
At his off-the-mark explanation, both my husband and I were speechless. Ryan, oblivious to our reaction, went on about how wonderful the wedding in Guam was. Holding my aching head, I carefully asked my son, so the marriage registration and the wedding have already happened. Then, why weren't we invited to the wedding? Then, Ashley, who had been silent until now, spoke up.
Is there a need to invite strangers?
Her unexpected response left me blinking in disbelief. Ashley said with a calm face, "Isn't it just a waste of money?" I couldn't help but respond emotionally to Ashley. No, we're Ryan's parents. Ashley, looking unconvinced and displeased, said, "But, to me, you're still strangers." I instinctively furrowed my brow and fell silent. It seemed that Ryan finally noticed the uneasy atmosphere beginning to form. He started to explain in a hurry.
Ashley has no parents or siblings. It would have been sad if she was the only one without family at the wedding, right? That's why we didn't invite you guys.
Hearing Ashley's situation, I found myself unable to say anything in return. I thought, if that's the case, maybe it can't be helped. Of course, I had feelings of discontent, but I told myself it was too late anyway since the wedding was already over. After Ryan and his wife left, I confided my true feelings to my husband. I wonder if those two will really be okay. My husband seemed to share the same concern, but said, it's what they've decided. Besides, they're already married. All we can do is watch over them. And he sighed. Although I agreed with my husband's view, I couldn't just leave things be. So I decided to try to get closer to Ashley. I decided to contact her after getting her phone number from Ryan. When Ashley realized it was me on the phone, her voice immediately turned sour.
Is there something you need?
Thinking I had upset her by calling suddenly, I hurriedly explained my reason. I received some delicious sweets and thought I'd bring them over to you sometime. Then Ashley said, I don't need that. Besides, I don't plan to give you my address either. I instinctively asked, what? In response, Ashley answered indifferently.
I don't want to give my personal information to strangers. Please delete my phone number.
Before I could say anything, the call was disconnected. After that, I couldn't get in touch with Ashley anymore. What I did must have seemed like unnecessary meddling to Ashley. Seeing me down, my husband said, There's still time. No need to rush. Forcing closeness doesn't always lead to good results. Let's just hope she opens up to us eventually. Cooling down, I nodded. That's true. A month after I stopped trying to contact Ryan and his wife, Ryan suddenly got in touch. When I asked if something happened, he told me Ashley was pregnant. I was thrilled by the joyous news, thinking how hard it must be to have a first child without parents around. I offered to help and asked for their address. However, Ryan said, "No, I can't give you the address. We don't need help, just money. I'll give you the bank account number, so please transfer the money." I tried to explain to Ryan how difficult childbirth can be, but he wouldn't listen at all. Additionally, I was told that Ashley herself was against it. In the end, I transferred just the money as my son had requested. Since then, I haven't received any contact from my son. There wasn't even a report of the child being born. After a year passed, I tried calling my son several times, but eventually, I couldn't get in touch with him at all. My son might no longer consider us his family. Even if I wanted to confirm it, there's no way to contact him. One day, while I was feeling helpless, I met someone from the past at the local supermarket. At first, I didn't notice, but thanks to him calling out to me, I recognized him.
Long time no see. Do you remember me? I'm Michael Johnson.
Hearing the name, my memory came flooding back. He was a friend my son often brought home during high school. In my memory, he was still a high school student, so I didn't recognize him at first. "Michael, you've grown up so much." As I looked at him intently and called his name, Michael smiled happily. Then, my eyes met with the woman standing next to Michael. On her finger was a ring matching Michael's, and her belly was visibly large. I instinctively covered my mouth and exclaimed loudly, "Oh my." Michael nodded shyly.
This is my wife, Sophia. We're expecting our child in 2 months.
"So, you're Sophia. Congratulations."
Thank you.
Sophia seemed momentarily puzzled, but soon smiled happily. After a brief exchange of greetings, not wanting to impose on her in her condition, we quickly ended the conversation and parted ways. 2 months after meeting Michael again, I received an email from him. Actually, when we met again, he said he wanted to report the birth, so we exchanged contact information. The email had a photo of the newborn baby attached. It was a very cute baby. Suddenly, imagining my grandchild, whom I've never seen, I found myself shedding a few tears. I emailed Michael, saying I wanted to send a congratulatory gift. Then, I received a hurried call from Michael.
Please don't feel obliged. That wasn't why I contacted you.
I couldn't help but laugh at Michael, who sounded so apologetic. "No, it's just that I want to celebrate, since I can't do anything for my own grandchild." After a pause, Michael asked, "Something happened with Ryan, didn't it?" When I remained silent, Michael started, "I was hesitant to tell you this, but actually," what Michael shared next was shocking.
Sophia was originally Ryan's ex-girlfriend, but Ryan chose another woman and unilaterally broke up with her. The woman in question is Ashley. Sophia was quite depressed after Ryan left her. I couldn't just leave Sophia like that. I tried to persuade Ryan several times, but he wouldn't listen at all. Thinking it was useless to persuade him further, I gave up on convincing Ryan and also stopped associating with him as a friend.
That's where Michael's story temporarily ended. Even though he's my son, I couldn't forgive either Ryan or Ashley. At the same time, I realized my actions were reopening Sophia's old wounds. Even though I didn't know, I'm sorry for what I did to Sophia. She probably didn't want to meet Ryan's parent in the first place. I'm truly sorry for carelessly saying I wanted to celebrate. When I apologized, Michael quickly interjected with words of denial. You don't need to apologize. Sophia isn't bothered by it, and it was Sophia who suggested sending the photo of the child. Please don't apologize. Their kindness made me feel even more guilty. As I remained silent, Michael hesitantly said, but I don't ever want Ryan and his kind to associate with Sophia again. I, of course, replied in the affirmative. I'll help as much as I can, even though it may not be much. I also revealed my relationship with my son and his wife to Michael. Michael seemed truly appalled upon hearing about Ryan's recent actions. Then, to change the mood, we talked about happier things before ending the call. I also told my husband about what I heard from Michael. After that, I declared that I would consider Ryan and his family as strangers from now on. My husband agreed with my decision. Finally, things have settled down. I nodded, looking over the room where the unpacking was mostly done. From today, our new life together begins here. Originally, the house we lived in was too big for just the two of us. When we were considering moving, this new high-rise apartment was introduced to us. Originally, we were supposed to tell our son, but we decided against it. I decided to go out to buy ingredients for dinner. The moment I stepped out, I was called out to.
Mom,
Turning around in disbelief, there was my son. He approached with a silly grin on his face.
why didn't you tell me you moved? I was shocked to find strangers at the old house. It took me a while to find out and look for you.
I gave my son a stern look. I have no obligation to tell you. You're a stranger, after all. Ryan seemed to finally realize my attitude towards him had changed and started to panic.
What are you talking about? I'm your son.
I ignored Ryan and started walking. Ryan hurriedly walked beside me and began talking.
Mom, I'll apologize for everything. I was just deceived by Ashley. Hey, living in such a new high-rise apartment means you must be well off, right?
Ryan was making a fuss beside me, but I ignored him and kept walking. Seeing my unyielding attitude, Ryan began to ramble with a pale face, perhaps realizing something was wrong.
Ashley was a huge liar. The story about having no family was a lie. She actually caused a scandal at her previous job and was disowned by her family.
Glancing at my son, he, perhaps misunderstanding something, eagerly continued to badmouth Ashley.
Ashley quit her job and couldn't live alone anymore, so she targeted me, thinking I'd be her cash cow. I was just deceived.
My son insisted that he was the victim.
So, at least let me live in that apartment.
I stopped and looked at my son. He seemed pleased, thinking I was finally willing to listen to him. However, I remained cold and said to Ryan, "You reap what you sow. Despite having other women, you chose such a wicked woman yourself." Hearing my words, my son's face went beyond pale to completely white. I delivered the final blow with my words. "Your family is only Ashley now. You're quite the match." Leaving my son standing there, I walked away from the scene. Afterwards, I contacted Michael. I did so because I thought my son might trouble Michael and Sophia. As expected, my son sought Sophia's forgiveness and tried to have Michael mediate between us. Moreover, he apparently said something nonsensical like, "You two got together because of me." Michael, having reached his limit, declared he would cut ties with my son and threatened to call the police if he persisted any further. My son apparently fled in a panic. Later, I heard my son, infuriated, try to spread rumors about the two among mutual friends. But instead, he was met with disdain from them. Ashley, who was supposed to be my son's only ally, reportedly cut him off as soon as his savings ran out, abandoned their child, and ran away with another man. Afterward, It was said that my son became spiritless, but we did not consider lending a hand even after hearing such rumors about him. After some time, my son brought his child to us.
You must think it's pitiful for your grandchild, right? Leave us here with you.
As soon as he heard my son's words, my husband, who had been silent until then, yelled,
Don't be ridiculous. Stop being so dependent at your age. You're no longer a son to us, but a stranger. Get out!
Overwhelmed by his fury, my son fled, leaving his child behind. My husband immediately locked the front door. I gently picked up the grandchild who was left behind. The grandchild, still too young to understand anything, reached out and laughed towards my husband. Surely, seeing that smile, my husband and I shared the same thought. We have no intention of forgiving our son and Ashley. However, this child is not to blame. We nodded in agreement. We decided to raise this child ourselves. Through the grapevine, we heard that our son is doing manual labor. It must be tough living if our son, who disliked physical activity, has no choice but to work such jobs. Even so, he hasn't come to our house so far. Well, even if he did come, the outcome would be the same. My husband and I are busy every day, focused on our grandchild. Since we are not young, raising a child is quite challenging. However, just seeing this child smile motivates us to keep going. For things that are too difficult for us, we rely on the help of Michael and his wife. We truly cannot thank them enough. It seems that the days of enjoying a leisurely retirement are still far off. But until then, I want to cherish the time with my husband and grandchild.